What is up, everybody? It is Wednesday, August 3rd. Happy Men's History Month. We just finished White History Month this past Sunday, 2022 AD, Anno Domini. I used to call it Anno Domini, something like that. The year of our Lord, 9:01 a.m. U.S. Pacific Daylight Time. Will it be a loosey-goosey show, Hake? I don't know. I think so. I hope you enjoy it, though. And indeed, my audio feed is working on the Odyssey, ODYSEE.com / the Hake Report. I have a lot to cover. A lot. So I'm going to cover some initial important stories. Important in my mind, which... What's important about that, right? But these dumb traitor kids, you know, the January 6th protester who went to trial, Guy Raffitt, it sounds like he was angry, and so it kind of made him go a little sideways. But he went to trial, and he got 7 years, man. And his son is all going on CNN, talking about, with his long hair, talking about, oh, yeah, he deserves that. And his daughter's like, oh, yeah, Trump deserves to go to prison for life. Oh, gosh. Blind, brainwashed masses. And baby killing in Kansas. Base America First gave us some super chats, gave me some super chats to read to you guys about that, and I have an update on it. The Kansans allegedly voted to keep abortion going, I guess. It's not like they would have voted to stop abortion with that vote, but... And of course, I do have to get to Trump on Brittney Griner, and then the phonies, the lamos that I wanted to share with you yesterday, but I didn't get to it. Now this clip, some anti-Trump hate. I do hope to get to maybe a little bit of this Salvador Rolando Ramos stuff, because there was some info about him that I hadn't seen before. You know, I'm not that into it, but it is interesting once you get a little bit of info. And they're going after an American patriot who has interviewed JLP before, called Alex Jones of Infowars.com, my competitor. And there's other mess going on. Fickle, confused women. You ever heard of Demi Lovato? What a shame. But anyway, guys, all that and your calls, if you would like to call in. I didn't even I got to one call yesterday. I had so much I wanted to get to. But shout out, guys. But let's get right on with the show!
1, 2, 3, 4. Oh, it's the Hake Report. The Hake Report. La, la, la. Oh, it's the Hake Report. The Hake Report. La, la, la.
Hey, guys!
Oh, it's the Hake Report. The Hake Report. La, la, la. Oh, it's the Hake Report. The Hake Report. La, la, la.
So, how are you guys doing? I am fine. Nothing special on my shirt today, just California with the California bear in a black faded print on a nice gray, neutral color, sort of muddy gray t-shirt. I love the muddy colors. Beautiful California. Just dark on the inside, though, amongst the Californians, the people of California. Whatever happened to us? I guess it's not so good right now, huh? It makes me so angry! Kind of like... what's his name? Adam Kinzinger. Makes me so angry. But, man, there was something else I wanted to say. Oh, just a heads up for the parents. Send your kids out of the room when it comes to an hour from now when I play the beautiful music. It's going to be beautiful, in my opinion. But it's some guy who's like all angry about a woman. Must have not been... no sex before wedlock, right? No sex before marriage. type of thing, because that tends to inflame the passions even more. So this guy is like angry. So it's a bit of an angry song. So just an advance warning. I'll remind you, hopefully. But let me get right started with this. Speaking of anger, attack on the true American patriots, some of whom themselves may be a little misguided at times. These dumb traitor kids. I almost called it attack on the U.S. Capitol, but the attack on the U.S. Capitol was done by the establishment, right? The attack on the U.S., and I'm not talking about, oh, it was feds doing it. And it may have been, but I'm talking about the people who were pulling the shenanigans and stuff like that. Because, you know, the enemy of the people, as Trump rightly says, is the mainstream media, is the establishment swamp in Washington, D.C. Can I say it with more disgust? I can, probably. But it's so gross. And so let me play for you this little report on this fellow named Guy Raffitt, whom I've reported about a little bit before, here and there, over the months, and even in recent days. This is clip 10 from WUSA 9. I hope that it's in there. It's a local news outlet. What is WUSA 9? It's a CBS affiliate. Let's see, what else does it say about themselves? WUSA 9. What a lame website. It's all jumping around. It's ridiculous. All kinds of ads. Those news outlets, they can't make money because they're not interesting, because they're full of namby-pamby, wishy-washy, obscuring the truth, political correctness. You know what I mean? Daily Mail used to be that way, honestly still is. Yeah, Daily Mail is anti-racist, anti-white. They're far left. They're called, conservative leaning. No, they're not. They are trashy. But anyway, I'm not going to talk about Daily Mail yet. I may get to. I have these ideas, so much that I want to get to, because, you know, this guy who's never left the news before, and then I'll get started with this because I don't want to waste too much time. But I may talk about that guy who all he did was whistle at the white woman. Give me a break. From 1955, they still can't let it go. I'm shaking my head. Emmett Till. So makes me want to spit. Where's my spittoon? But here's this report from this WUSA 9. Oh, I think it's a Washington, D.C. local news outlet, because it says Washington Commanders is on this top portion. And that's actually Washington Redskins. Redskins. Redskins! To imitate Sleepy Joe Biden. But here's this little report from these two news anchor type people, correspondent, anchor, reporter type stuff on this Guy Raffitt case. It's about a little 3-minute clip for you guys on what happened. And they don't say what he was charged with entirely, but they're talking about how the prosecutors are trying to go after this January 6th mostly peaceful Capitol protester and what far-right group he was part of. So I think he's, 49 or 59 years old? Listen to this, clip 10.
In the meantime, we're following some breaking news in the Capitol riot court cases. A judge just handed down the longest sentence in a January 6th case. Guy Raffitt has been sentenced to 7 years and 3 months in federal prison, along with 3 years of supervised release. Raffitt, you might remember, is a member of the far-right militia group, the Texas Three Percenters. He was the first defendant to go to trial, and prosecutors argued for a terrorism enhancement, saying Raffitt should go to prison for 15 years, but clearly that didn't happen. Our investigative reporter Jordan Fisher was inside the courtroom during this trial. And Jordan, so why didn't the judge go through with this terrorism enhancement?
Yeah, Lorenzo, we should note, first off, Guy Raffitt was not convicted of a crime of terrorism. He was convicted of 5 felonies, but federal sentencing guidelines do allow certain crimes, if they are related to crimes that are attempted to intimidate or coerce the government, to receive this terrorism enhancement. And it's a big hammer that the government can drop. It increases your sentencing guidelines by 12 levels that can increase, in Guy Raffitt's case, your sentencing recommendation from 7 years, which is what he got, to more than a decade. The reason she didn't apply that is because she was looking at other sentences that defendants have received, and she said even those who had serious offenses like assaulting police, like making very serious threats against other, like lawmakers, did not, the DOJ didn't ask for this. And she specifically called out Mark Ponder, the DC man who was sentenced last week for assaulting police, where they didn't ask for it.
All right, so what about Reffitt's family, the personal side of this? You know, this case sticks out to me because it was one of the early ones, but also his own son testified against him. Were they in the courtroom at all today?
Very unusual because of that. Jackson, his son who testified against him, was not in the courtroom. He did write a short letter in it. He talked about how his father had lost himself over the last several years and had fallen into what he described as a horrible community to find a place of belonging. And his sister, Peyton, who, if you recall from our earlier coverage this year, was one of the 2 children that Guy Raffitt was convicted of threatening. Peyton was in court today. She gave a statement. She said that she wanted the judge to understand that she didn't see her father as the leader of the mob. She said it wasn't her father's name on the flags the rioters were carrying. It was another man's name. And she didn't name former President Trump, but obviously...
That's what she was saying.
Right.
All right, last question for you. How do you see this affecting other sentencings going forward?
The big thing is prosecutors have forecasted now that they have this terrorism enhancement they can ask for. They're willing to ask for it, and they suggested in court today they are going to ask for it in other cases going forward. Of course, they have the multi-defendant, very serious sedition cases that are scheduled to come to trial later this year. They may also be considering, as the judge said today, asking for it in other serious assault and threat cases.
Well, okay, so clearly this is not over. Jordan, great work as always. Thank you so much. And we know you're going to stay on top of these cases surrounding the January 6th attack on the U.S. Capitol. And we have a team dedicated to covering the Capitol riot investigations. You know the drill. Point your phone's camera at that QR code. A link should pop up for you to sign up for our Capitol Breach newsletter. We'll email you updates every week and, of course, when big news breaks.
Because we care so much about that mess. I guess the people in D.C. itself are a bunch of dumb liberals, so maybe they are interested in that stuff. So this guy never assaulted the cops or anything. But he did, supposedly, they said that he threatened Nancy Pelosi. I don't know how he threatened her. They said that he did threaten, he's convicted of threatening his daughter and his son. Is this the one when he said, if you guys rat me out, you're traitors, and traitors get shot? I chuckle at that, but that's a crime, right? Isn't that a crime? Hey, did you ever wear a man bun? First of all, I don't like that word, and second of all, no. But anyway, Texas 3%ers, they're far right. I think they're just kind of normie people who want to protect the Constitution, right? The 3%ers? 3%ers. 3%ers per far left extremist Wikipedia, which were dissolved in February 2021, 17 months ago. Wow, founded in 2008. American and Canadian, so-called far right and libertarian. You can't be far right and libertarian, buddy. That means you're centrist, basically. Lawbertarian. Gun ownership rights and resistance to U.S. federal government violating the Constitution. They don't finish the sentence, but they're resistant to the feds overreaching, right? That's what they get to. The name derives from the erroneous claim that the active forces in the field against the king's tyranny never amounted to more than 3% of the colonists during the American Revolution. Oh, okay. So they were part of the 3%. They feel a kinship with the 3% of American colonists who resisted the king's tyranny. Okay. But it's supposedly erroneous that only 3% opposed it. Yeah, imagine back in the day of the American Revolution, there were a bunch of people like, oh no, let's stay with the UK. Don't make trouble. So anyway, these people, they became quite popular, and some say that they were kind of full of feds and people who were, feds being federal informants or federal agents or whatever. People get in trouble and then they become rats in order to get a lesser trouble. But anyway, that's supposedly far right. I don't think it's far right. I sometimes became familiar with them maybe through the Tea Party a little bit. Because Tea Party came around 08, 09, didn't they? I participated in some Tea Party rallies. Anyway, back to this. That's what this guy was, 49 years old. 49 years old. And here is some more info on the so-called family that this guy had. Didn't seem to have very good control of his family. At least his wife is standing with him. A convicted Capitol rioters. And did he even riot? Did he riot? I saw him like waving people up, but I don't know what he did. Was he even convicted of rioting? Maybe he was. And you heard them. They tried to call it terrorism. I don't know. Anyway, Business Insider says a convicted Capitol rioter's son and daughter think Trump should also be in prison for the events of January 6th. Done. They're like teenagers. They are teenagers. Convicted U.S. Capitol rioter's son says he absolutely agrees with his father's 7-year sentence. In part because he brought a gun to the Capitol. He didn't go into the Capitol building, but he brought a gun to the American Capitol, and the American Capitol is the home of where the Constitution says that you have a right to carry guns, and it shall not be infringed. I don't know. This is from CNN YouTube channel. This is about 6 minutes long, guys. Here's this guy. Here's the son. Son who turned the Capitol rioter in. Turned his own father in. Reacts to his father's sentence. Here's your lovely clip 11. And I'll try to, well, anyway, here it is.
A federal judge has sentenced a January 6th rioter to 7 years in prison, which is the longest sentence.
Oh, hold on, some technical difficulties. We have this picture that's in front of everything. Don't worry about us, we're new. Okay, here's clip 11. Enjoy, guys.
A federal judge has sentenced a January 6th rioter to 7 years in prison, which is the longest sentence so far for participants in the Capitol insurrection. Sentencing for Guy Raffitt comes nearly 20 months after he brought a gun to the Capitol and threatened House Speaker Nancy Pelosi. Back in March, a D.C. jury convicted Guy of 5 felonies. Here's how Raffitt's daughters reacted to his sentencing.
Listen to this.
To mark my dad as this horrible person, and then having him prosecuted like this when somebody is maybe even able to get elected again doesn't seem right to me.
Trump deserves life in prison if my father's in prison for this long.
Shut up.
Joining us now is Guy Raffitt's son, Jackson Reffitt. Jackson warned the FBI about his father both before and after the insurrection. Jackson, thank you so much for being with us this morning. How are you feeling? How are you reacting to this sentence?
I mean, I'm not happy at all, and I haven't been happy through this whole situation in my head. No one in my family has either. But to say I'm surprised would be a lie. I mean, everything my dad did, he's his own person, and his action has consequences. But I'm not happy at all.
Do you think he deserves this length of sentence?
I mean, absolutely. He deserves some time, whether for anything, to rehabilitate for his mental health. He deserves a lot of safety nets. But yes, he does.
You have worries about him being in prison that long. You mentioned his mental health.
Absolutely. I mean, the prison system in this country can be pretty harsh for a lot of reasons, and to blame my dad's deteriorating mental health for a pretty bad effect on him, I'm not going to be surprised. But, I mean, that's why I mentioned it in my letter.
Do you now, or have you throughout any of this process, had any second thoughts about turning him in?
Absolutely not. But it still bears the guilt that he is his own person and he has made his own choices, but he's also been pretty much manipulated into making those choices. And it pains me that he is still responsible for his actions.
Jackson, I want to talk about what this has done to your family. This is your mom speaking yesterday. I want to listen to this.
Base mom.
No matter if you're a liberal, if you're an independent, if you're a Republican, this is not okay. This is what this is political persecution. We are patriots. Ashley Babbitt was a patriot. My husband is a patriot. Roseanne Boylan was a patriot. And all I can say...
Oh, those are the sisters sitting there.
...is that y'all can all go to hell, and I'm going back to Texas.
What is your relationship like with your mom, with your sisters?
It's been really hard over the past couple of years. The really polarizing differences in how we view our father and the people that are involved in communities such as what my father was in. But, and it feels like we're each pulling on each string one way. But I don't view this as a political matter. This is more of what is morally correct and how to go about it. And what my father was manipulated into doing, and what he led to think was the best and only way to do it. He decided as an adult to make those choices. And whether my family views it any differently, it doesn't have an effect of the outcome. Yeah.
When you heard what your mom said there, you know, what do you think about what she said?
This, I mean, realistically, this doesn't have a matter of a political opinion. What my father did is far from politics. This is completely off the rails violence. Whether it had a political motive at this point doesn't matter. It's more about what he did and who he did it for.
It seems like, you know, your sister Peyton, listening to her, she feels kind of caught in the middle of this. You know, she was there at the courthouse. She loves you. She made that clear yesterday. She thinks that your dad, if he's getting this time, that Trump should be getting some time. What do you say to that?
Absolutely. When she said that, I was flabbergasted. Not only was I so impressed with her, but she was so right. I mean, my dad was used as a puppet, and thousands of families have been. And whether you deny or agree with that, it's just it's facts at this point. It is disgusting to see that someone with practically money and social power can just get away with manipulating thousands of people just for whatever reason and have no outcome.
When we look at this sentence, which is the longest one we've seen so far for a January 6th participant, part of the reason was that your father carried a weapon. He did not enter the Capitol, but he also decided that he was going to trial instead of accepting a plea. And that obviously is something that would have potentially gotten him a longer sentence, more time in jail. It seemed in court that he regretted that a bit, but why do you think he wanted to do that initially? Why do you think he wanted to be an example?
I can't think of anything other than my own experience with my father, knowing that he is a narcissist and that he has a rather large ego. And it was horrible to see him make that decision, knowing that he could have gotten off much easier. And I feared the moment that he was offered that and he denied it, that he would deny it and try to fight it in court. And I knew it wasn't going to end up like anything other than it is right now.
Man, what a useful idiot, huh? Was he wrong in doing that? I mean, his father did tell him traitors get shot. I keep on laughing about that. This is why JLP warns everybody not to be angry. This is what they want people, the right-wingers, to do. They want the right-wingers to go crazy, so-called right-wingers. This guy's a centrist. They want the people who love the country to go crazy and angry. And they lick their chops. That's why they call it an insurrection. It was not an insurrection. Do I have to state the obvious? Very fake news, CNN. But was this guy wrong for... I mean, he's definitely wrong in saying, oh, it's not political. Maybe in your mind it's not political, young man? Young male? Adult male? I think he's an adult now. Jackson Reffitt. With those long hair. If you're not watching the video feed, if you're listening on audio feed or on a podcast, audio podcast, this guy has like long hair. And he's all wishy-washy and doesn't really know how to answer his question very clearly. Worried about his dad's mental health. And that has to be tough. Like, imagine your dad has the right love for the country, or so-called love for the country, he thinks, but he's going a little crazy and saying, if you rat us out, you're traitors, and traitors get shot. I mean, you shouldn't rat out your... And this guy's going on CNN calling his dad a narcissist with a rather large ego. And I'm sure I imagine there may be some truth to that, right? As if he's not a narcissist with a rather large ego, and everybody at CNN is not a narcissist with a rather large ego. It's not really saying much. But he's saying that Trump should go to prison for life? Or his sister said that anyway. And he's all, absolutely. And he accused Trump of manipulating his father into it. I mean, he knows that his father's an adult and responsible for himself. Trump's not responsible for nutty people going kind of crazy. And his father sounded like, might have been a little nutty. I do appreciate that the wife, although the wife probably shouldn't be grandstanding and talking and running her mouth, but I do appreciate that the wife is standing with her man. Isn't that nice? Is she older than him, Nicole Reffitt, the mother? So Jackson, Peyton, and Sarah Reffitt, all the brothers and sisters, just misguided kids. And apparently they're dumb liberals. The parents, I mean, you cut some young people some slack for being dumb liberals a little bit. But I don't know. I wonder what Trump's kids were like when they were young whippersnappers. I mean, even now, they're kind of whippersnapperish, right? Marrying unchristian people sometimes, or divorcing and re-getting with older women. And parents have a tough time out there, and they, because they're making it tough for their kids not living quite right. But isn't that wild, huh? You guys, I'm looking at the live chat, talking about the kids, the young adult males, long hair. And this phony CNN pretending like they have love and concern for this family, this messed up family that's getting unduly persecuted. And of course it's for politics. Granted, you maybe shouldn't have told his kids, if you rat me out, you're traitors, and traitors get shot. Although it's funny, it makes me chuckle every time. But it's politics. That's why they're going after them hard. Where is all the drama about the blacks and the women and the unchristian people who supported Black Lives Matter actual insurrection across the country? The dad was a bit effeminate, says Den Tijian. A man don't make threats. Good point. Yeah, fair point. Gary A says, my kids are young and based already. Yeah, but keep it cool. Keep it cool. No matter how insane the evil world is, don't let it get inside you. Because there may be it's not mental health, it's spiritual life that you need. And that'll fix your mental state. Let me talk with the great Ian out of Martinez, California, on the line. Ian, how are you doing, man?
Hake Report.
Hey, nice to hear from you.
Yeah, never apologize for being white.
Indeed. I hope you had a happy White History Month.
I did, yes. Happy belated White History Month. Happy Men's History Month.
Yeah.
How you been?
I've been well. How have you been?
Good. I've been listening. You have been well. I've been listening. Even though I haven't been calling in, I've been still staying loyal to you.
Nice,
Old
man.
faithful. Still staying faithful to you and listening.
I know that. I wouldn't guess anything else, man.
Yeah, so this kid, I wanted to get your take on this kid who looks like a girl, by the by.
Yeah.
That ratted out his old man.
That is shameful. It's shameful.
So that's what do you think? That's a testament on how he raised and is raising a kid, right? Like, because my old man was like, dude, if you don't ever rat out your family, no matter what happens, good, bad, indifferent, you never rat out a family member.
Yeah, I think that his father didn't raise him with strength and with authority. Apparently, is what I can only assume, and so the kid started listening to the mainstream media, the establishment social media, Satan inside his own mind, and the kid has clearly got some issues himself. And to go on CNN very fake news CNN. He should call the Jesse Lee Peterson show. He should not be he should not be taking calls from CNN or taking interviews with CNN. Yeah. Very unwise. Very unwise. I can understand that it is you can be distraught seeing your dad go a slight bit crazy, maybe, but he accused his father of violence when his father didn't. I guess if his father made any actual threats, maybe that's not good, but 7 years for a loose tongue, basically, and exercising your Second Amendment, that doesn't sound right to me at all. CBS, by the way, says that Reffitt never removed his gun from the holster. So there was no violence. This guy, they called him a rioter. What rioting did he do? I didn't see any rioting in the footage that they had of him. So, yeah, the CNN boy is, pray for that family, I guess, huh? Pray for them.
Yeah, I will.
Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, that was as soon as I heard that, it perked up my ears. Like a dog. Once the dog hears something,
right,
their ears go up.
Yep.
That's as soon as I heard that, I'm like, oh man, I gotta call in. I gotta talk to my man.
Because you can say, hey, Dad, you're wrong. You gotta check yourself. But to go and say all these things, and this guy's clearly brainwashed, politically brainwashed, and politically brainwashed people have this false sense of right and wrong where they think that Trump is this evil person. They accuse Trump of manipulating people, and they have no idea what they're thinking or talking about. Trump didn't manipulate anybody. So it's ridiculous. What a shame.
Yeah, it also reminds me of that scene from Goodfellas where De Niro. Now I'm not I'm not condoning the movie and the Italian gangs and all that, but there's one scene where De Niro. This was 30 years ago. The movie was made 35 years ago, where he's like, it's after the kid's first court appearance, and he thought that Robert De Niro would be mad at him. And De Niro was like, no, I'm not mad at you. You remember the two most important things. You kept your mouth shut, and you never ratted out your friends.
Yeah. Nice.
Yeah. So. Yeah, I had some stuff going on with my life. I got doxxed. I got this whole big bowl of drama that happened to me over the last couple months. But I won't. Maybe I could tell you some other time.
No
when
problem.
I come down there again.
Yeah, that sounds good, man. I wish you well. We're praying for you as well, man.
Yeah, I won't talk about it on air. So.
No problem. Yeah. Well,
All right, Hake.
happy Men's History Month to you. And it's always been cool seeing you at the men's forums and all that stuff. And we're pulling for you, man. Take care.
Yeah. All right, Hake. See you.
All right. Bye. Ian from Martinez, California. Solid guy. Art in Ohio also wants to get on this CNN, son. Art in Ohio. Thanks for holding, man. How are you doing?
Hey.
Hey.
How you doing?
Doing fine. How are you?
Can you hear me?
You're sounding better now. You're sounding better. You're coming closer to the phone. Yeah.
Okay. So, man, you hit on something very deep. You said that the girl was saying that it wasn't, or the son was saying it wasn't politics. The girl was saying that he need to be, Trump needs to be held accountable. Well, I'm agreeing with you. Yeah, it is. These kids are under mind control.
Yeah.
And if these older liberal left, they have distorted what screaming the fire in the burning building when there ain't is. You see what I'm saying? They don't distort it with if Trump actually really said something that really told people, hey, well, go out there. If he was on scene right there when they was doing that and would tell them, go hang that person, go kick that door in, go punch that person in the face, hey, burn that side of the building down. I'll be like, hey, Trump needs to be in jail for inciting a riot and trying to overthrow the January 6th. He didn't say nothing like that.
Exactly.
And what they're doing with the MK mind control is they're distorting and blurring that, and these kids and a lot of these older people are thinking that somebody's supposed to be in trouble when the heck there ain't. And it goes back and I'm listening. Go ahead.
No, you're right. You're right. Go ahead.
So I was just going back to something. I was just thinking about me and my mom when we was going through our little stuff, and she would interfere with my custody little situation. And my baby mom, was going at back and forth at the time about me and my son. And I just kept trying to figure out, like, why is my mom basically siding against her son when she knows that my baby's mother was wrong? And one reason I tell you about, another reason I won't tell you about, because I think she might be using a tactic, but I'm not gonna throw my mom under the bus. You see what I'm saying? Because God has a plan, and He has that plan working in work right now.
Nice.
So, but one of the things is, it's just like we was just saying with the little mind control, is that all this propaganda, just like they doing in Chicago, where they basically letting the criminals out. Heck, no, ain't nobody gonna feel comfortable coming, and a citizen ain't gonna feel comfortable coming and turning somebody in because they know y'all letting them out. So if everybody's seeing this on TV, on the news, and the same criminals is being let out in the same, heck, no, the citizens ain't. So if these kids and these older people are seeing that the left and the liberals are diluting and MK mind controlling and showing them and triggering them with this propaganda, that boy don't understand that he's being used as a tool against his father. This young lady don't understand that she's being used as a tool against her father. And then you mean to tell me this young boy went and this is all over politics. They're using the parents against the kids for politics, and the kids against parents for politics. And you mean to tell me that you went and told on your father and got your father 7 years for basically just being an American citizen? And he didn't go into the Capitol building, and it ain't no against the law for him to have no dang on gun unless they got some rule that I don't know about, but saying he can't have a gun on the Capitol property. So you don't in turn went and probably got your dad 7 years. He probably gonna end up dying in jail because they gonna end up probably putting that. It's called Saccharin. It's called it's a sugar that they use in these penitentiaries, and it's been known. They tested it on rats, and it gave the rats and mice cancer. So he's gonna be in jail. His dad gonna be in jail drinking this stuff, which gonna probably end up getting him cancer. Let alone he have to deal with the inmates all because he was just being an American citizen going on the American capital. And then you as the son, once you get a little bit older and you see how the attack is against the men, then the young man is going to feel bad that he did what he did because he going to always remember this.
Right. Wow.
This ain't something you just gonna forget about when he gets a little bit older and he see what Artie Art, baby from Ohio, when Hake is talking about, he gonna feel bad as heck that he did what he did to his father, and he can't take it back.
I know. 7 years.
Your dad didn't go out here and just go kill some innocent people. Anybody that got hurt at that Capitol was because it was just some one dude had a heart attack. The other one, I don't know if he tripped on the shoestrings.
Right.
The other one, I don't know what they was. I mean, you talking about? No, your dad wasn't down there doing nothing.
Right.
You know, went down 7 years, and then they throw the dad up in the blender and tell him to go take it to trial. He don't even understand that you was about to lose anyways, man. You was supposed to go ahead and take the little bit. Pride comes before the fall, man.
Yeah.
But everything was like. He'd be all right, though, Hake. He'd be cool.
Yeah.
And
chin up, King.
Chin up, King. He'd be all right. It's going to work itself out. Father God, you know.
Did he have a public defender? I thought I saw a black female, like an illustration in that little report, one of those reports, video reports that I showed today, of like a black female, like comforting him as he was like hunched down, or appearing to comfort him as he appeared to be upset in the courtroom or hunched down. And it made me think, was this a public defender, one of these D.C. lawyers who are like liberals, who are not even for the innocence of their defendants, whom they're supposed to represent? So I don't know. I don't know if this guy, I don't know if they raised money for him. You know, the 3%ers or who? Well, I don't know if the 3%ers could have done anything because they were dissolved in a month, like a month and a half after the mostly peaceful protest at the Capitol. I don't know what that was about. I don't know who his lawyer was or what, but I know that there were a lot of public defenders who made these people read SJW, social justice, anti-racist books and a bunch of propaganda and apologize and denounce Trump in order to get like a lighter sentence. So I don't know what happened with this guy.
It might sound like how it sounded. It sounded like he might. I don't know. It sounded like he might have had a public pretender that threw him in the blender.
Yeah,
he is like I don't understand how he didn't see that he wasn't about to win this. You know what I mean?
Right.
He just basically had to let the cars, wherever the cars lay, let them fall. You see what I'm saying? He was supposed to just try to he was supposed to take a deal, not try to go up against a government that you see is not for you right now.
Yeah, yeah. I mean, I do respect on principle not taking a plea deal, but it hurt him it appears to have hurt him. So I don't know.
What do you think's going to happen? He already seen that they were the DC was against him,
right?
When he ended up in jail in the first place.
Yeah.
So that would let you know, man. Hold up, let me go ahead and get myself out of this, and then go and then figure this out.
Right.
On the outside versus being on the inside.
Yeah. That seems practical advice, man. Go ahead.
Yeah. What did you say? What do you think about the What do you think about the blonde-haired mom, looking like Tommy Boy's mom? I seen somebody in the chat say that.
She was kind of, I don't know. I don't know what to think of her. I did appreciate that she stood by him, and I don't know if she's wise to be telling people not to take plea deals, because, like you said, it's best to live another day and have some semblance of your freedom rather than being in prison for an undue amount of time. But I don't know what to think of her. What do you think?
You said that she told him not to take no deals.
Well, she was standing by him and certainly encouraging that. I don't know if it was her advice that he took or if he decided not to do it and she agreed with him, but she's telling other people don't take plea deals. But
yeah,
I don't know if she's I don't know if she's someone to listen to, you know?
And that's what's going on with them kids too. Mama been leading for too long, and then you got your son turning on your dad and your daughter. You know what I mean? And then she coming out, which is awfully funny. All strong is like the mom is. She look like she awfully far to the far right. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
And ain't nothing wrong with it, but a lot of these females have a problem with just what she say at the ending. I'm going back to Texas. Y'all can kiss my ass. Just
right.
Like the female. All that wasn't necessary, and that let me know what's been going on in the house with them kids.
Yeah.
She been leading. Daddy ain't been leading. And if he been listening to her, that's why he in there for 7 years. Father God bless you, and we both got skates on, and we still rolling with Trump.
Nice, man. Appreciate you, Art. Take care.
Yes, sir.
All right. Just to follow up on who this Nicole Reffitt lady is, before I get back to this abortion story and some more calls, Nicole Reffitt is the wife of Guy Raffitt, according to showbizcorner.com. I just searched it, okay? Let's see. Sentenced to more than 7 years in prison for bringing a gun to the U.S. Capitol. And he did some other stuff, too, supposedly convicted of threatening his daughter or whatever, and his son, maybe. And supposedly nervous Nancy Pelosi. I don't know what the specifics are. It could be sort of a kangaroo court situation, you know? BBC described her as a woman with short, white blonde hair who stated her husband was a loud talker and that she and her children made a joke about it. We say, don't do a guy. Wow. That involves cussing a blue streak as he does or attempting to outdo or impress someone. She was present at the hearing of Guy. She sat close to her mother-in-law, Linda Reffitt. That's Guy Raffitt's mother, 74-year-old lady, who lives in an RV and traveled to Washington, D.C. for the trial with her oldest son, Nathan, I guess Guy's brother or half-brother, who knows what. As they recalled Guy's filthy language, some of which he had recorded in a video on January 6th, the afternoon sun spilled into the room. Tape was played in court by prosecutors, these lawyer liars who were persecuting the mostly peaceful protesters. Guy Raffitt discussed Nancy Pelosi, the so-called Speaker of the United States House of Representatives, on the audio, using foul language and speaking of a nebulous plan to pull her out of the Capitol. Nicole Reffitt told BBC, why is she talking to BBC? But anyway, she hoped that she could slink out of the room at times like this. She said it's just bluster. Her spouse, her husband, poses no danger to anyone. I could believe that. I don't know. Nicole claimed the verdict that her husband was used as an example. After the verdict, that her husband was used as an example. Yeah, that part is true. To force all the 1-6ers, January 6 defendants, to plead guilty. Do not take the 1-6ers plea, she encouraged. We got this. I don't know, lady. I don't know how old she is. She looked like she might be over 49, in which case she would be older than Guy Raffitt, who's 49. But I could be wrong. Oh, man, Jackson Reffitt's running his mouth on Twitter. I guess you can't run your mouth on Twitter. Running his fingers on Twitter, typing mess. I'm just seeing some pictures and things. What a shame. Maybe I'll post this info in chat. She looks 65, says Misty. I'll post the article in chat. But anyway, by the way, Asmodor says, Art misunderstands what MK Ultra is fundamentally. MK Ultra is a brainwashing / mind control program that requires the participants to participate in training, including torture and drugs, not a media campaign. Okay, so he just meant that this guy is like media and government propaganda and establishment social media and probably at school too, maybe brainwashed. I wonder if the children of Guy Raffitt attended public school. It's not a media campaign. In the 1970s studies about cancer were poorly done. Saccharin never caused cancer, says Asmodor. It's being studied now as a possible cancer inhibitor. Wow. Because Art was talking about what you get, what you're served in prison is prison food, and they gave him saccharin, according to him. But yeah, prison's not necessarily good for anybody, all right? Especially nowadays, since they don't. It's like on one hand, you're spoiled. Many people are spoiled. On the other hand, it's all messed up. Like the D.C. prison is all rotting, and they especially give the rotting aspect of it for the January 6th mostly peaceful Capitol protesters. And then on the other hand, like there's all kinds of rapes and murders and stabbings and all kinds of stuff like that. It's supposed to be like, it should be just a dungeon. It should be just dungeon, Anyway. Shameful. Oh, man. Okay, so let me see if I can plow through this in the last several minutes here of this abortion issue, of this first hour. Baby killing Kansas. Base America First gave me these super chats a couple days ago that I read to you guys about this value them both thing in Kansas 2 days ago. He reported to us via super chat, Kansas votes tomorrow. They voted yesterday on its Constitution value them both amendment. Oh gosh, media pushing that it bans abortion in Kansas, except it doesn't. Text says there's no constitutional right to abortion, and I guess in 2019 they claim there's a constitutional right to abortion in Kansas. Shameful. Is that true? The government funding is not required. Legislature regulates it. Okay. Notice the weasel words. No state constitutional right to abortion, but it isn't banned. Government funding is not required, but it isn't prohibited. The legislature can pass laws to regulate it, but they don't have to, and can introduce other additional weasel words, says Based America First. The amendment begins because Kansans value both women and children. And forget men. I roll. Perhaps it would have been better for Kansans to affirm that an unborn baby is a person. Probably not enough weasel room with that version, yeah. So this week, woman-led, I'm guessing that it's woman-led because I look at the pictures that AP shows, and it's a bunch of women, female-minded, quote-unquote, conservatives running the pro-life movement anymore. But, or this proposition or whatever it was failed. Look at this. Well, those are liberal women who are celebrating, right? So so-called conservative women versus liberal women. The liberal women are going to win every time because Satan is working through both of them. Because, the so-called conservative women who are running the show are just like on an ego trip, and they're like, ooh, we're not run by men anymore. The pro-life movement is no longer led by white men. I literally heard some of them say this in a panel discussion at Politicon some years back. I told you the story before. The far-left females at the Skim report, Kansas just voted to protect so-called abortion rights. No, they didn't. There's no such thing as abortion rights. And they share this AP article, extremists, off the deep end liberal, they promote killing babies. They promote the transgender thing as false. They promote illegal aliens as undocumented immigrants or whatever. AP shares these YouTube videos, and YouTube adds context. Oh my gosh. So you know how, like, if I talk about so-called climate change, and if it's like a theme in my video at all, YouTube will add this little flag thing, climate change, and like they'll describe it. They're doing the same thing with abortion. And they'll also do the same thing with, if you talk about the election, or at least shortly after the election shenanigans, they'll say, according to all the reports, Joe Biden is the duly elected president. Or they don't say duly, but can you find the YouTube? Okay, so I have a ton of pictures in this abortion Kansas thing. YouTube AP context, just to show you guys. Abortion health information from the National Library of Medicine, from the National Institute of Health. So government propaganda. An abortion is a procedure to end a pregnancy. It uses medicine or surgery to remove the embryo or fetus and placenta from the uterus. The procedure is done by a licensed healthcare professional. For more information purposes only. So that's what YouTube puts in. YouTube is owned by Google, Alphabet. That's what they're putting into their thing. Talking to us like we're children. And the National Library of Medicine, medlineplus.gov, government propaganda website that YouTube links to, it goes on in their description saying, the decision to end a pregnancy, meaning kill a baby and remove the unborn baby, the child, from the womb of the mother. The decision to end a pregnancy, what a euphemism, right, is very personal. Personal? What's that mean, personal? What do you mean personal? How is it personal? It's also very societal, I say. And that men need to stop them from doing it. Men, just step up. In the right way, of course. Not necessarily like Guy Raffitt did. If you are thinking of having an abortion, talk with your health care provider. Meaning kill the baby, right? Talk with your health care provider. Perhaps they can care for the health of your unborn baby and kill it. Your provider can explain how the procedures are done as well as the risks and benefits of each. You may also want to get counseling to help you make your decision. Not ask your husband. Not get married or have the baby. Not stop having sex out of wedlock. So here's a report from clip 12 I have here. Far left AP on YouTube. And turn on the AC, please. AP explains, Kansas votes to protect abortion access. Kansas voters resoundingly protect abortion access. They have two little videos on this thing. It's about 4 minutes long, and then we'll go to break, guys. An estimated 500,000 Kansans supposedly voted on this issue. Should they keep the 2019 state constitutional amendment protecting imaginary abortion rights or scrap it? So nearly 60% of so-called voters wanted to preserve those abortion protections. About 40% wanted to remove them, so-called remove them. The decision means abortion will remain legal in Kansas for up to 22 weeks of so-called pregnancy. It's clip 12 in there. Let me see if I can make sure that it is in there, guys. Indeed. Oh, it might be. Let me see. See if I put it in there. Oh, maybe I didn't. Okay. Well, then I don't need to cover that then. Let me go to break and see if I can get that for you, okay? My mistake. Let's have a strange interlude. Children, leave the room. It's time for some music anyway. We're about at the top of the hour. So this is Carter Ferris. I already played clip 11, Misty. Carter Ferris. This, I know that somebody said everybody leaves the room during Hake music. But anyway, Carter Ferris, this is called Homewrecked. And then I will get to more of your calls and all that stuff after, hopefully I can play this clip for you. Homewrecked. And it's a bitter man about a bitter relationship, probably with a bitter woman. So it has some, it sounds like some cuss words to me. So kids, again, leave the room, cover your ears. But you musical Philistines, you may enjoy this as I do. Here it is. Enjoy. I'll be right back, guys. Hang tight.
surprised. I'm not coming home tonight. I don't know where you get off. Questions like this. This is fuck, this is wrong. I can't even think of responses. Stupid questions you asking me too. What the hell is wrong with you? Just tell me.
So good. Am I right? I had to keep my mouth shut because you probably can't find that song anywhere on the internet right now. And I like it so much. Carter Ferris on Luho Records. I think 2005 or pre-2005. Hake listening to music with possible swear words? I don't believe it. But it's closeted emo, says Emperor of Cats. Whatever, man. You don't know. Where's the squirrel? People comparing it to 9 Inch Nails. No, forget that 9 Inch Nails guy. He never grew up. Carter Ferris, I don't know where he is. Who knows if he grew up either. Hake was such a Cali kid with his choice of music. I'm not sure this would qualify as music, says DJ Alan Powell. Hake, have you been smoking pot? No. But what's up, Wayne? Nice to see you. Shout out to the Facebook crew. Very beautiful. This music reminds me of the time my ex tried to murder me. Whoa, Lord Bibby 42. No wonder you're so tough. Nobody more bitter than Hake? Whoa. Hey. What's up, Frankie BLM? If 9 Inch Nails were only 7.5 inch nails. Terrible. If 9 Inch Nails fell off. Whoa, come on. I thought it was nice. Thank you. Shout out to Carter Ferris and shout out to Luho Records. Let's read some super chats, shall we? I am remiss in reading all of the super chats on streamlabs.com/The Hake Report. And by the way, as Vidor states on Odyssey, drug addicts and alcoholics tend to flourish physically in prison because they eat regularly, have no access to drugs, FTMP, and sleep indoors. Yeah, very true. More like 6-inch straws, says Big Bump. I like the ending part. Anyway, you guys heard it. If you were not covering your ears, you musical Philistines. Brandon M. says, I bet this music is what turned that one Sixer kid into a homosexual snitch. Ouch, man. No, this guy never heard that music. Carter Ferris, though, don't be angry, and don't be having sex out of wedlock, and don't be all bitter towards women. Base America First says, with a super chat on streamlabs.com/The Hake Report, a jogger robbed a jogger? Probably not the Central Park jogger. Probably a different type of jogger. Robbed a lemonade stand in Rancho Cucamonga. Not beautiful Rancho Cucamonga. I love Rancho Cucamonga. What type of jogger would rob a lemonade stand in Rancho Cucamonga? That's beautiful, no longer boonies. Far, far out exurb, instead of suburb, exurb. Beautiful area to raise your family. Victoria Gardens, anyone? He had no money, so the girls gave him free lemonade. Then he ran away with their cash box. The girls did not pursue because he might be dangerous, but 2 young white men caught the jogger. I wonder what type of jogger this was. But that's not in L.A. County. That's like San Bernardino County. But anyway, L.A. County wants to employ non-citizens for fairness, says Based America First with another super chat. Oh, gosh. Would they be exempt from some payroll taxes like UI and FICA? How is this legal? Can't find qualified citizens in a recession? Just in time for them to count votes? Thanks, Sheila Kuehl. You're so cruel, so evil. Sheila Kuehl is a LA County commissioner outside of whose house I protested. She wasn't even home, and we were all peaceful and nicey nice, and it was a bunch of like restaurant owners and bar owners who did not appreciate her shutting down outdoor dining. And she's perhaps not a Christian, and certainly not a sensible county commissioner. Wow. L.A. County. Base America First goes on with another super chat. A national emergency for monkeypox? Yeah, did you hear that? I mentioned that in Hake News. Perhaps a certain segment of the population should lock down to slow the spread, since they say they care so much about public health, quote unquote. Communist buzzword. Lockdown policy for Christian churches during the China virus. Why not now? For the so-called LGBTQ plus community, so specifically the G and B and T and plus so-called community. Yeah, good point, Base America First. No, they're all about the control. They hate Christians. They look down on them. The mainstream media does, and it's so wrong. Hake's music scares listeners away. Hide your children. Hide your wife. Hake music scares demons away. Or maybe it invites them in. Yeah, don't get too into music. Music is the language of Satan, I heard. Including the nicey Christian music, perhaps. You ever heard of these Christian so-called singers who like, they come out as dumb liberals. But anyway, yeah, I say all musicians are liberals. But I guess it's not an excuse to listen to satanic, bitter at your girlfriend cussing music from Carter Ferris, who couldn't even get his life together because he is going through a lot, right? They didn't even come out with the album. But I love those two tracks that I played yesterday and today. Can you love something like that? Anyway, before I get to calls, hang tight, callers. I will get to you, 888-775-3773. Let me get back to this abortion story. I do believe that it is ready. Clip 12, this is a couple of AP far-left enemies of America, enemies of men, enemies of whites, enemies of the babies, enemies of women, but women are too dumb to realize it. Some women, not all. Explaining about Kansas voting to protect abortion access. Resoundingly. Here's the clip. Finally, my bad. Here it is.
I'm Tom Verdon. I'm the democracy editor for the Associated Press. I'm in Washington currently to cover the August 2nd primaries. Voters in Kansas today were voting on a question placed on the ballot by Republicans that would say, if it passed, that there was no constitutional right to an abortion in the state. It was not a question about banning or restricting abortion. It was a question that would just say whether there was a right to an abortion in the state constitution. This was the first time that voters across the country got to weigh in on the question of abortion since the Supreme Court overturned the constitutional right to abortion in the Dobbs decision in June. If the amendment had passed, then Republicans could have either restricted or banned abortion. Putting a question like this on an August ballot rather than a November ballot would seem to favor Republicans and anti-abortion activists. But that's not the way it turned out. Turnout was extremely heavy throughout the state, and the ballot measure lost resoundingly.
Look at this. Dumb women, purple hair.
This was a big surprise. It was essentially a vote heard around the country. And it was a surprise because Kansas is not only a fairly conservative state, it's also a state where there's a deep-rooted history of the anti-abortion movement. The vote in Kansas also aligns very closely with what poll after poll after poll has shown, that the majority of Americans want to protect at least some access to abortion, and large majorities of Americans want to preserve access to abortion, especially in cases of rape or incest or where the health of the mother is threatened. So the vote in Kansas aligns pretty clearly with the polls and what they have consistently shown. And this could be a real boon to Democrats in the midterms. They face a very difficult year for a lot of reasons, but this could be an issue that they can really grasp onto in the months ahead.
Look at these people. Dummies. Fat. Gross. You can tell they're liberals. Just looking at them. Voters rejected a measure would have let Republican-controlled legislature tighten restrictions. Listen to these people, too, talk after this.
We have worked so hard for the past year, but the last couple of months to really, communicate with voters about what is at stake, and really what was at stake was our constitutional rights and our freedom. And so, a coalition of voters across the political spectrum came together today and voted no. They voted no to protect their neighbors. They voted no on changing the Constitution, and really, demonstrated our free state roots here in Kansas are alive and well.
I'm super proud to be from Kansas tonight, and I feel like my state just showed up and boldly told me that they are going to take care of me and my female friends and everyone that can get pregnant in the state of Kansas. We are protected tonight.
Look at her. Suckers. I told you yesterday about how the stupid women, and yes, they are stupid. Sorry, kids. I can't help it. I can help it. These silly women, they're not, nobody's stupid, right? Sorry, kids, adults, parents. This Allie Utley woman, Kansas voter, everybody that can get pregnant, because she's an SJW believer. And this Ashley All woman talking about our free state roots. And she's talking about protecting the Kansas state constitution, because I guess in 2019, they decided to put it in the constitution that a woman can kill the baby in the womb. And what does this democracy editor mean by democracy? What does that have to do with anything? We're not a democracy. So abortion will remain legal, quote unquote, legal in Kansas for up to 22 weeks of pregnancy. How many months is that? Let's see, roughly 4 1/3 months, something like 4 1/3 weeks per month, something like that. 4 times, so what, 5 months? I don't know my math. Kansas can continue to be a so-called refuge for those in nearby states like Missouri, Arkansas, Oklahoma, and Texas, according to the far-left females at the Skim, with tighter restrictions. So women and underage women, girls, can go to Kansas to kill their baby. In November, Kentucky and Montana will also have pro-life referendums on the ballot. In California and Vermont, voters, so-called voters, will decide whether their state constitutions should be amended to protect the imaginary abortion rights. Michigan's working on a similar measure on the ballot. Voters in Kentucky and Montana will have pro-life referendums like the one in Kansas. We'll see what happens, huh? The demon rats are celebrating, the demons in these silly females, young, foolish females. End of the second trimester is 22 weeks, according to Sho Sugino, if I'm understanding him correctly. Unless I'm making a false assumption about what he means. Demon rats are celebrating the huge turnout in Kansas, almost twice as many voters as in 2018. I wonder if they did the mail-in thing so that every idiot can vote, you know? Sorry, kids. Don't say idiot. The overwhelming support, and especially in a traditionally conservative state. It's a warning that against so-called anti-abortion people, legislators who are not for baby killing, right? The so-called Justice Department, the U.S. Justice Department, the Obama one, right? Because they say Biden administration, but it's really Obama administration continued. Imaginary Justice Department sued the state of Idaho for their near total abortion ban, set to go into effect later this month. The sleepy Biden administration and the majority of Americans want to protect abortion access. So wrong, so evil, so sick. Far left AP on that, and the mainstream media has been doing a big campaign to convince Americans that this is such a wrong thing. I remember they did a major campaign to convince Americans that so-called same-sex marriage, when the so-called Supreme Court put that in place, the media went on a huge campaign to convince Americans, this is right, finally. So, you know where the mainstream media stands. Not very Christian, I must say. Brandon M says, hey, do any of these degenerates have Twitter or Instagram? Yeah, don't harass them, except Brandon M. Because Brandon M harasses all in love. Nice. Shout out to Brandon M. Let me get to Keith in Illinois on the line. You can call in, guys, 888-775-3773. I don't know if I'm going to get to everything I wanted to, but Keith in Illinois, thank you for holding, man. How are you doing? Happy Men's History Month to you.
Happy Men's History Month to you too, Hake and the crew. Thanks a lot, man.
Nice.
Yeah, I want to talk about two things. I'm going to let you go.
All right.
I noticed that, remember the 70s, a lot of black people used to play pimps and whores and robbers and drug dealers. They got upset, quit,
You're talking about in movies? In movies, the blacks played that? Yeah, true.
Yeah. Remember, Floyd, we tired of playing these roles. It's like you're putting us only in these roles, right?
Yeah.
Okay. They come the 90s and the 2000s, that's all they play. They're not even complaining. They play robbers, pimps, whores, gang members, drug dealers. That's all they play. You watch TV, that's all they play.
Yeah, true. And that's
So
what
it's like they
that's
complain
a
about
lot
it in
of what
the
they
film.
that a lot of them were those things back in those days.
I know, but I'm
And to
talking about
this
how
day-
they complained about it, though.
Right.
And now that's all
Yeah,
they
that's
play,
true.
and that's all.
Yeah, they complain
and-
about how they're portrayed. They portray themselves.
Right.
Yep. Good point.
And now that's all they want to be portrayed as.
Right.
Pimps, drug dealers, whores, robbers, murderers, and drugs. That's all they, murderers and thieves and killers. It's amazing how they complain about how they were portrayed. And now in the 2000s, that's all they want to play.
Yeah, I know.
Tell me something ain't wrong with these people, man. Then they let the liberals name them. Black people are the only black people that have been named 6 times. N-word, Negroes, colored, black, African-American, and now they call people of color.
Yeah.
6 names. And I would like to ask somebody, what's the difference between colored people and people of color? I don't, man, these people are insane.
Right.
Okay,
there is confused. You bring up how many different names they've had over the years. They seem just as confused as that Demi Lovato woman. You ever heard? Did you hear about that? I saw on far left Twitter that Demi Lovato, back in May, she's all, I am now a they them, and then just 3 months later, this is August, right? May, June, July, August. Yeah, in August now she's like, oh, I'm back to being a she her. I'm not a they them anymore because Demi Lovato thinks she's so-called non-binary. Demi Lovato is some liberal singer woman, I guess. I don't know.
Yeah, she went Disney.
She's
so all
confused.
Disney,
And the blacks who don't want to be called the N-word or whatever else anymore, they're just as confused. They have just as much of a lack of real handle on their identity because they identify with the black thing.
Yeah, because they wait for their liberal slave owners
Yeah.
to tell them how to feel and think. Okay, now we're going to call you people of color, or colored people. It's like whatever. They wait for the slave owners, the people on keep them on a plantation. What do you call this next, boss? What do you call it? I mean, they complain all the time about, slavery and what goes on. And it's like they run to it, though. It's like, how do you complain about something? They run to it.
Right.
And worship it.
Yeah, I know.
Okay, one more thing. I'm going to let you go. I look at white guys, they work hard, they go to college, they got a student loan. But they work hard, they'll be able to come in for 20 years, right? And, they move their family out to the suburbs, you know what I'm saying? They get their wife a car, they get a car. They get their kids in a good school, which the taxes are very high. The house costs $350,000, okay?
Yeah, at least.
So basically, they're busting their butt to get their family all this stuff. And what does their family do? Turn around and vote for the demon rat and call them racist. It's like, their family turns on them because they watch the liberal news. It's like, you look at their father like he's a racist. It's like, wait a minute, what have I said racist? And they try to keep their family away from gangs and drugs.
Right.
And their family just turn on them. It's like, it's like.
You're talking about like this protester guy whose children ratted him out or son.
But that's just one case. I'm talking about. You look at the liberal white women. Or whatever, they was actually kind of like Republicans voted Joe Biden in because they fell for that racist crap that showed up on the liberal news 24/7.
Yeah.
Okay?
And you know
Now
what?
they
There
gotta
are so many cases of parents who are conservative or even Tea Partiers or whatever. Back in the day, there's a Tea Party, the conservatives who did not appreciate Obama, and they didn't even like George W. Bush.
Right.
They and their children turn out liberal or conservative Christian parents.
Yeah.
Even their children may even go to like a so-called Christian private college, and they still turn out liberal, radical homosexual.
Right. I mean, so the man pays all this money to send him to school, and they turn him. It's like, I mean, I'm telling you right now, you know, I have a son, he's grown, you know what I mean, he's doing well, you know, he thinks like me, but it's like, there was no way in the world I could take a chance on having a family now, because it's like, I couldn't see myself paying $120,000 for her to go to college, and him to go to college and come back and hate me.
Yeah.
I mean, I just can't, I mean, my brain, I'm old school, so I'm not built that way, you know what I'm saying? I can't take all this abuse and all this, you know what I'm saying, all this disrespect. I wasn't built that way.
Yeah.
So it's like, you know, it's just horrible that these men put their life on the line. You know, they even get insurance policy to protect their families. Okay, they do all this hard work to send their kids out to college for them kids to come back and hate them. It's sad, man. My heart goes out to those people. That's all I gotta say, man.
Yeah. Well, I appreciate it, Keith. It's good to hear from you, man.
Hey, thanks a lot for Hake for letting me speak and everything. Hey, y'all, you Hake listeners out there. What's up to y'all? You know, I know all y'all good people. So, hey, what's up to y'all? Well, all right, thanks a lot, Hake, man. You take care, buddy.
All right. You as well.
All right. All right.
All right. You know, he mentioned how the blacks portray themselves. And this takes me to this Brittney Griner woman who, you know, everybody's feeling sorry for. Well, not everybody, but all the establishment mainstream people. I covered this yesterday. Trump called out Brittney Griner. He called her spoiled. And he slammed the prisoner trade proposal. Remember this? Let me play clip 14 once more. I played this yesterday. It's Antony Blinken, the so-called Secretary of State under Obama. Oh, I mean Biden. And he admits that weeks ago they offered this trade for this awesome guy who maybe, according to Trump, he was a killer, maybe killed many Americans, according to Trump. I don't know. Victor Boot. Is that what his name was? Or is? Trading him for Brittney Griner and then some other American who's older and probably more worthy, but they weren't sounding the alarm until Brittney Griner got in custody. And he has like a 10-year prison, 7-year? I forget what it was, but he's been in since like 2018, this other guy. But here's Antony Blinken of the sleepy Biden administration, this authoritative so-called Secretary of State. I got this clip from Newsweek. It's a brief clip from this guy, Antony Blinken guy, who's been clowned on human rights with like China. Didn't he get clowned by some Chinese officials? Because they said, Antony Blinken's you don't have a good record on the human rights, how you treat those Uyghur Muslims, right? Uyghur, whatever they are. And China's all, well, you don't have a good record on how you treat black people. And it's all fake. It's all fake. But Blinken is part of the fake propaganda about how, cops are racist and violating the human rights and civil rights of blacks. It's not true. But here he is hoping that Russia will find a resolution. It's been weeks and they've been like, no solution's been here yet. Here's this phony guy acting like Obama. He's talking about weeks ago, we offered this deal. We're trying to make a deal. Here it is.
In the coming days, I expect to speak with Russian Foreign Minister Lavrov for the first time since the war began. I plan to raise an issue that's a top priority for us. The release of Americans Paul Whelan and Brittney Griner, who've been wrongfully detained and must be allowed to come home. We put a substantial proposal on the table weeks ago to facilitate their release. Our governments have communicated repeatedly and directly on that proposal. And I'll use the conversation to follow up personally and, I hope, move us toward a resolution.
Man, what a phony guy, huh? He's like reading, no feeling in his voice. Talking to us like we're children. He sounds like he's a presenter on PBS, Public Broadcasting Network. Like he's one of the boring people on Sesame Street when you were a kid. Remember those boring ones? Trump said, She knew you don't go in there loaded up with drugs, and she admitted it, Trump said on Friday. And I read this to you yesterday. I assume she admitted it without too much force because it is what it is. You know, Rolling Stone saying Trump sides with Russia over Brittney Griner. And it certainly doesn't seem like a very good trade, does it? He's absolutely one of the worst in the world, this Victor Boot guy. And some people say there's lies about him and he's not such a bad guy. Somebody called my show, I think, saying that. But I don't know. Maybe Trump's right or maybe Trump's wrong on this part. And he's going to be given his freedom because of a potentially spoiled person goes into Russia loaded up with drugs. And like I told you, she probably just had to vape with vape juice. At least that's according to what the media says. That's how they portray it. Trump says she went in there loaded up with drugs in a hostile territory where they're very vigilant about drugs. They don't like drugs over there in Russia. And she got caught. And now we're supposed to get her out, and she makes, a lot of money, I guess, Trump said. We're supposed to get her out for an absolute killer and one of the biggest arms dealers in the world. Killed many Americans, killed many people. Is that true about Victor Boot? Brittney Griner pleaded guilty, but said she accidentally brought the cannabis into Russia. You would think you'd be a little bit more careful, but then, and she's quote unquote married to a fellow so-called lesbian, this light-skinned black radical who sat out the national anthem. And she thought that the WNBA, she's a WNBA star. She's a professional basketball player, female basketball that not too many people watch. Not too many people watch it, so I don't know how you can be a WNBA star. But anyway, I didn't read this to you guys. During last Wednesday's ESPY Awards, Steph Curry, the Obama kiss-up guy, did a little photo shoot with him, I remember. Looking all lame. Talented basketball player. Purports to be a Christian. Seemed like a nice guy, but then he's all kissy with Obama. Not kissy, but at least, anyway. Megan Rapinoe, that lesbian, short-haired, supposedly white female soccer player woman, and WNBA athletes whom you've probably never heard of, like I have never heard of them. Nika, 2 N's. Nika, that's her name. Nika Ogwumike is her last name. And Skylar Diggins-Smith pleaded for Griner's case release. We cannot stop fighting for her, Stephen Curry said. Griner deserves to be free, Megan Rapinoe, the evil woman she's full of hate, Megan Rapinoe added later in the ceremony. She's being held as a political prisoner. Brittney Griner, like Rapinoe, is part of the LGBTQ community. It's not a community. And no, they're not. They're just blind, brainwashed, deluded people. And perverted. Russia is notoriously hostile towards members of this so-called community. Oh, gosh. In what ways, I wonder? So I haven't played this. Clip 13. This is a Now This propaganda video. Here's Megan Rapinoe, whatever she is. Short-haired feminist. She got equal pay. I think she's the one who partly got the equal pay thing, even though the women's soccer doesn't make as much money because they're not as exciting, they're not as athletic as the men's soccer. And Stephen Curry were among the star athletes pleading for Brittney Griner's freedom at the ESPYs Wednesday night. 3-minute clip. Enjoy or not. Here it is. Athletes at ESPYs called for Brittney Griner's freedom.
BG is a WNBA champion. She's an 8-time WNBA All-Star, a national champion in college, an Olympic gold medalist, an athlete who has fans all over the world, a human being whose predicament commands our attention.
It's been 153 nights now that BG has been wrongfully detained thousands of miles away from home, away from her family, away from her friends, away from her team.
What about Paul
All
Whelan?
throughout that time, we've kept her in our thoughts and in our hearts.
Oh, yeah, right.
Even though
Liar.
we know that ain't nearly enough to bring her home, y'all.
There are a lot of people working hard right now to secure Brittney's release. But as we hope for the best, we urge the entire global sports community to continue to stay energized on her behalf.
Hey, that's
because
Steph
Brittney
Curry.
isn't just on the Phoenix Mercury. She isn't just a member of her team in Russia. She isn't just an Olympian. She's one of us.
I think for me, the most striking thing is that BG's not
What do you
here.
mean?
We've, had people up on stage. We've said that
This
before. NECA, Skylar, and Steph up there talking about it.
Oh, NECA.
BG deserves to be free. She's being
Not
held
Nika.
as a political prisoner, obviously.
Good.
And I know, listen, I don't think I'm getting political, but I do love to
Yes,
get
you are,
political. We're probably not going to get her out tonight, and everyone should enjoy the night, and we should all celebrate, the incredible accomplishments that this collective sports environment and
ESPYs is
community has
evil.
had for this entire year. But tomorrow and the next week and the next day, like Sky was saying, every time we see BG's face, like Nicole was saying, every time we say her name, every time it's on social media, every time we say it in interviews, it puts pressure on everybody. It puts pressure on the administration. It puts pressure on Russia. It puts pressure on Putin. It puts pressure on everyone. It lets BG know also, above everything, that we love her and that we miss her and that we're thinking about her all the time. We're doing every single thing that we can to get her out, because that's honestly the most important thing.
The team of athletes in this room tonight and all over the world. A team that has nothing to do with politics or global conflict.
I didn't know you sounded like this.
The more we say her name, the louder our voices will be.
The more we see her face, the closer
So
we'll feel
phony.
to her and her to us.
So
We cannot stop fighting for her. We cannot stop believing for her. And we will not stop hoping for the day when we can welcome her home safely.
They're taking turns.
We are BG.
Satanic, huh? Devilish. Isn't say her name like a devilish thing? Isn't that a witch type of thing? Cringe. Yeah, I cringed. She's one of them is all BG. That's Brittney Griner. How embarrassing. Would you want to be called BG if you're a woman? I don't think so. But she's, I don't know. 153 days of not seeing her family. Excuse me, Paul Whelan. I'm sure that they didn't mention him here, but they had to have, right? They had to have at least mentioned Paul Whelan, who is an actual, maybe a hero or maybe not, I don't know, former police officer or something. Canadian/American/Irish/English or something like that. I think his parents were Irish people who became UK citizens and then had babies in Canada, and then they got their son, Paul Whelan, who's the other guy who's in prison for Russia, American citizenship, and then he was a police officer in the northern part of the States. And then he started doing some stuff, and then he went to, and I don't know if it was illegal stuff or not, but he's been in prison in Russia for years. Like I said, 2018. The ESPYs, I said that the ESPYs are evil because they are. They're so contrived and phony. They posed, if you're not watching the video, or if your eyes are kind of bad because it was all tiny. They posed this Steph Curry guy. I didn't know he had such a deep, gruff voice. I wonder if he's putting that on a little bit extra to sound a little bit tougher. Because I don't know if I've ever knowingly heard Steph Curry's voice before. Stephen Curry, he's a famous basketball player, pretty talented guy. Did this dumb, lame, embarrassing, poor taste photo shoot with Obama, being all buddy-buddy with Obama. That's all I remember him for, besides being supposedly a Christian and light-skinned and whatever. But they posed him next to these two females who are maybe WNBA quote-unquote stars too, alongside Brittney Griner. And they each take turns talking. Oh, and then they all talk together. We are BG. That's not very Christian, doesn't seem like. But the ESPYs are so evil. They awarded the ESPY Awards Didn't they do the Arthur Ashe Courage Award? Did they do the Arthur Ashe Courage Award at the ESPYs? ESPN something. They gave Bruce Jenner the Courage Award, I think. And I do remember that at the ESPYs one year, LeBron James, Gabrielle Union's husband, Dwayne Wade, right? Dwayne Wade. Gabrielle Union's so-called husband, the one who lets his son turn into like a girl or something like that and go to pride parades, LGBTQ mess pride parades with his new wife, not even the boy's mother, at age like 13, 14 years old, 12, to nasty perverted parades. And they had those two guys and a couple of others, I forget their names, talented basketball players, voicing their support for Black Lives Matter. So evil, a hate group. So I guess these are hate-filled, misguided, corrupt people. And they're haters of Trump, haters of whites, pretending to stand for love for the black community. Brittney Griner's black. And then they're pretending that cops are killing the blacks unjustly, when it's really the other way around. Blacks are disproportionate among the cop killers. They're 12% of the population, but like 40% of cop killers in a given decade. Out of control. Yeah, BLM is disgusting. Slap in the face. Black Lives Matter. And meanwhile, there's like lesbians and pro-abortion supporters and standing up for thugs and drug dealers who kill. And standing up for people who resist arrest and fight with cops and get themselves and others killed. Yeah, okay. Convince us that you actually believe that. Give me a break. Anyway, a whole lot of anti-Trump hatred from New Yorkers. I've been meaning to get to this, guys. I saw this on this Newsweek page, right? They have a bunch of clips. Clip 16 here. Quote-unquote families of 9/11 quote-unquote victims did this little speech. And they showcased this young woman who doesn't even look like she knew what was going on back in 9/11, 2001. Maybe she's older than she looks. But it's a little 30-second clip, 27-second clip. And, these are like New York City people, I think. Because New York City people are primarily the ones who got killed in the September 11th, 2001 terror attack. That some people say we don't have the whole story, the real story on it. And New Yorkers and people from the East Coast get all emotional about 9/11. But they're not sensible people. I hear all these New York City people who are like, we in New York City, we know what Trump is about. We don't like him. We know that he's a shyster or whatever like that. I'm like, you guys elect shysters. You guys love shysters or whatever you guys don't like about Trump. You are those things. Look at how liberal New York City and New York State as a whole, except for upstate, and even upstate's not that great. Look at your recent mayors that you had. Bill de Blasio, openly socialist, anti-white, even though he's supposedly white. Mayor Bill de Blasio, who supported giving the central grandstanded about the Central Park 5 guys who were not these innocent victims that they're portrayed as. Victims of forced confessions. There was no forced confession, no evidence of that with the Central Park 5. He supported, after he tried to run for president and failed, this Bill de Blasio scumbag. He got that officer Daniel Pantaleo who did the seatbelt maneuver around Eric Garner, the fat guy who's like resisted arrest. And he's all, this ends today. And it ended that day. He got tackled to the ground because he was resisting arrest. And who knows if that arrest was justified or not, but he was like, had been having problems with the law because of selling Lucy cigarettes. Officer Pantaleo was not fired that whole time until under pressure from Black Lives Matter, who's the mayor that I just mentioned? Bill de Blasio, with a ex-lesbian, black lesbian wife. His own children despise him as a white man. His mixed children, you know. He got Officer Pantaleo fired for doing his job. And look at your prosecutors, New York. Phony prosecutors. Who's that woman who's going after Trump all hard? Letitia James? No relation to Hake. James Hake. Letitia James, a black female who's tried to... Isn't she the DA from... I forget if she's like the Attorney General of New York or what. But your senators, Chuck Schumer, scumbag, unchristian Chuck Schumer, scum of the earth. You don't have good taste in the quality of people, New York. Sorry, New Yorkers, we love you. But you're suckers. So here's one sucker among the so-called victims of 9/11 doing this speech. They're all mad because Trump hosted Saudis or something and professional golfers at a golf course. So here it is. Here's this woman talking at this speech against Trump about pretending that he's disrespecting the 9/11 victims by hosting something to do with the Saudis, because a bunch of Saudis were involved in the hijackings. But Saudi Arabia, they're supposedly our allies or something. And it wasn't just the Saudis. Anyway, here it is. Listen to this.
How much money does it take to turn your back on your country, on the American people? Quiet. Well, according to certain individuals, such as Phil Mickelson, Brooks Koepka, Bryson DeChambeau, Dustin Johnson, and Donald Trump, that amount of money is just a few $100 million. We 9/11 families would trade any amount of money in the world just to see our loved ones again, just to have one last hug, one conversation, one more round of golf.
What a lame woman, huh? Bitter woman. Daughter of a firefighter. Talking about turning your back on your country. Trump didn't turn his back on the country. He, overturned much of his life to help the country to run for president. Gave up a lot of money. She kind of cute, though, says, no names. Yeah. She got a deep voice for a little girl. What the? Just a few $100 million. That's fine. Frankie BLM being all dirty over there on Twitch. Watch it, man. Keep it appropriate. Based Phil Mickelson, says Carver531. Yeah. I think it's just these are pawns for a bunch of Trump hate. You know who else is a dumb pawn for Trump hate and truth hate and men hate? These Alex Jones haters who are just disgusting people. Let me get to this. You know Alex Jones, my competitor, American patriot, has interviewed JLP before, and one of his right-hand man, Owen Schroyer, has interviewed JLP many times on Infowars.com. Persecuted by evil, useful idiots. More useful idiots. Far-left extremist publisher Twitter, not a platform, says Sandy Hook mom confronts Alex Jones in a defamation trial. My son existed. Be quiet, woman. And it's not a defamation trial about the media and phony propaganda political figures like sleazy, evil, lying, crooked Hillary defaming the great Alex Jones. No, they're accusing Alex Jones of defaming Sandy Hook people. Give me a break. And I have some screenshots from this far left Twitter, the publisher, little display. Sandy Hook mother Scarlett Lewis took the stand and directly addressed Alex Jones. Oh, so tough. You have the whole mainstream media having your back. You're not tough, woman. While speaking about the pain that he's caused her. He didn't cause her any pain. Maybe an InfoWars listener or two might have gone and harassed her. Don't harass these people. Unless you're Brandon M, because Brandon M harasses tastefully, I assume. Sandy Hook is where the Adam Lanza shot up the kids, you know? Adam Lanza, the son of divorce, in a liberal town from a single mother, and he was a messed up guy. And he shot and killed his mother. He was living with her. His father wished he was never born, like I told you yesterday about a little bit. Told you about it yesterday a little. Look at this. Look at some of these screenshots from this Alex Jones Sandy Hook Twitter propaganda from Connecticut Post. Sandy Hook mother, Scarlett Lewis. I don't even think she's married anymore. Took the stand and directly addressed Alex Jones, speaking about the pain he's caused her. Yeah, right. The InfoWars owner, Alex Jones, Infowars.com, also testified for the first time in the trial that will determine how much he owes to the parents. He doesn't owe them anything, but they claim that he owes them. Of Jesse Lewis, who was killed in the 2012 shooting, allegedly, right? Do you think I'm an actress? Scarlett Jones asked Alex Jones, who has referred to Sandy Hook parents as crisis actors. He was speculating, and he did, even in that same segment, if I remember correctly, which I don't really watch him much, because, you know, he's my competitor. But he may have said, oh, maybe these are crisis actors, but he meant like maybe they are, or, you know, he's like speculating during the time. It's a whole lot of false information coming out at these times, including from the mainstream media, by the way. No, I don't think you're an actress, Alex Jones says. Lewis spoke, this Scarlett Lewis woman. I don't get why they say the last names of these people, these women. Scarlett Lewis spoke about the fear she's had after experiences with Sandy Hook deniers. Because a lot of people think that a lot of these are false flags, right? They're certainly used for false solutions, I'll tell you that much. And there's a whole lot of lies surrounding what they say, you know? I'm not one to believe these things are completely just made up or a bunch of actors, because it's quite plausible. They set up society so that people flip out like this. Broken families. Give me a break. Of course it's going to happen. It's not only fear for myself, this woman said. It's fear for my surviving son. It's fear. You're living by fear, woman. It's fear for the other people brought into this, family and friends. She's pretending not to be selfish, right? I keep on wanting to say, okay, Scarlett Lewis, I think is her name, right? Said Alex Jones of Infowars.com and other so-called Sandy Hook deniers. Alex Jones of Infowars.com is not a Sandy Hook denier. But anyway, have made it harder to grieve, she said. Grieve? This thing was 10 years ago. December 2012, if I remember correctly. How long do you need to grieve, woman? She needs to call the Jesse Lee Peterson show and not be, or counseling with Jesse Lee Peterson. Rebuildingtheman.com/counseling. 800-411-BOND. 1-800-411-2663. But she's all, in some way, you've impacted every day of my life negatively, almost since Jesse's murder, she said to Alex Jones. She's just piling on. What a useful idiot woman, huh? On the stand, Alex Jones apologized and said he never intentionally meant to hurt Lewis. because he didn't. He didn't hurt them. Before arriving at court today, Alex Jones appeared on his radio show and called Lewis's ex-husband, Neil Heslin, slow. Neil Heslin had testified on Tuesday morning that he wished Alex Jones's lies, quote-unquote lies about stuff, something. Alex Jones was not in the courtroom during her ex-husband. So, after a stressful situation, or, these people are not Christians, or their foundation is not on solid ground, right? So they get divorced. This Neil Heslin, ex-husband of this woman, presumably the father of the Jesse Lewis or whatever. Or maybe they were exes already. Because why would their son not have the Heslin last name? Huh. So these are that's not even a Sandy Hook family. It's a Sandy Hook broken family. And they were already broken before Alex Jones met them. The heck? I don't know. I can't put this together. It's so confusing. Alex Jones was not in the courtroom during this slow, according to Alex Jones, according to this report from Connecticut Post, Neil Heslin testimony earlier in the day. Alex was the person with a match who started the fire, said this supposed father. People are bringing wood to throw on the fire. Give me a break. Here's another quote from Commie Nonsense Network, CNN. Oh man, we're out of time. It just seems so incredible to me that we have to do this, that we have to implore you, not just implore you, punish you to get you to stop lying, said this dumb lying Scarlett Lewis woman to the great Alex Jones of Infowars.com during the quote-unquote far-right, really centrist, personalities defamation trial in Texas. Few people, I will say, are as defamed as Alex Jones of Infowars.com. The exceptions trump any man who's standing up for what's right, JLP, Nick J. Fuentes. So anyway, so-called families taking legal action against Alex Jones of Infowars.com. They call him a conspiracy theorist. They push conspiracy theories. Anyway, guys, this has been the Hake Report. I appreciate it. I gotta go. TheHakeReport.com. The moms shouldn't be there. They won't quit grieving. This is Cindy Sands. If she's talking about this, I agree with her. Anyway, guys, thank you. Make sure you do catch the Bond Archive Sunday service premiere, 4 p.m. today on Bond YouTube channel. Bond Rebuilding the Man, rebuildingtheman.com/church. And make sure you catch men. You come to the men's forum if you can make it. And pray for the persecuted whites and men and Christians. Thanks, guys. Take care.